Hi guys, this is Carla, and this time I have a review for episode 10 of season 2 of Scorpion. This episode is titled Arrivals and Departures, and wow, that was some episode. I mean, I knew the Megan thing was coming. Like I figured that she was gonna die, and I'm glad that they didn't stretch it out. But damn, that was hard. That was hard to watch. It was really hard. I mean, initially, at the beginning of the episode, it was really interesting to see Walter and Megan's parents, because they're really not the way I kind of imagined them to be. Like, his mom is really effusive, and I don't know, I didn't picture her that way. The dad was a bit more the way I pictured, but he was also, I mean, he wasn't really mean about it. He was kind of just resigned, like after so many years of trying to understand Walter, he just kind of gave up on it, which I don't really know if I was expecting that necessarily. I mean, I can see how, some parents of genius kids would try to, I don't know, just kind of ignore them or treat them like they're normal children, or I don't know. I guess I was expecting him to be more, more kind of aggressive in not aggressive against Walter, but just kind of more dismissive, I guess, of Walter. But I don't think he was dismissive. I think it had just come to a point where both Walter and the dad kind of gave up on understanding each other. Like, I think it was a mutual thing, and his dad was just kind of resigned. He didn't seem as pushy as I would assume people like that to be. I don't know. So that was interesting, but I liked him. I mean, he was a guy who seems strict, but if you give him a good reason, he will listen and he will understand in a way, because that's what happened with Sylvester too. It's like, you know what? I love your daughter. I married her. That it is what it is. So you're just gonna have to deal with it. And that made the father kind of respect Sylvester in a way, even with all the super fun guy stuff around, which was hilarious, by the way. Like, hi, I'm your son-in-law, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of toys. That was so funny. But it was nice to see, because it also kind of makes you realize why Walter is the way he is, like why he's so, concerned with not failing people, because I can sort of assume that has something to do with wanting to please his father, and then when that didn't work, he kind of transferred all of his hopes and aspirations to Megan, and Megan was more accepting, and that makes Walter feel even worse about failing. So I can see where it came from. That's nice. When the episode started, though, after the whole thing with the parents, and they got to the hospital, I was like, when the mold thing actually started happening. Look, biology is not my thing, right? I'm a scientist, but in another field altogether, so I don't know much about biology, and I can't say that I know that much about mold or infections that have to do with mold or anything, but I'm pretty sure those things don't happen that fast. I mean, is that possible? That's all I was thinking through the episode. Like, there's no way that will happen that fast. It's just not. And so that kind of put a damper on my suspension of disbelief a bit, but I like the fact that they were all locked in, because I like it when they get locked in. I think they work. It's one of the best, the best ways of going about it is when they're all together in one place and having to figure out how to get out, or how to solve something before they're able to get out, like with the burning building and stuff. I think those are kind of the best scenarios that they're put in, so I like that. I just didn't. I mean, it's a fungus for God's sake. It shouldn't move that fast, especially like the way Toby described it. Like, okay, it's not the type of mold that we thought it was, so it's more resistant to antibiotics. So if you spray it with antibiotics, no, antifungal medicine in general. So if you spray it with this thing, it's going to do the opposite way. And I'm like, wait, are you saying the mold has a brain? Like, I don't think it can react that way. It's almost like it has the ability to reason, and that might be anthropomorphizing the fungus a little bit too far. But I don't know. I mean, I can buy it. It seems to me that if there was that kind of fungus like out in the open so often, I mean, the dude only found it because he was looking for gold, but was he mining? Like, because yeah, I know they found some kind of different kinds of mold in like unearthed grave sites and whatever where there's gold, but was the guy digging a gravesite, or was he trying to get gold from the rivers, or because that's a completely different, you know, scenario. So yeah, I had my doubts about the science of this episode, but I thought it was cool that they were fighting mold. It's like, it's one of those things that's so ridiculous when you say it out loud that it's just funny. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we're dealing with a mold invasion and we have to get rid of it or else everybody will be dead in 2 hours because the mold moves fast, apparently. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm not a biologist. For all I know, it actually happens that way, but it just seems very ridiculous to me. So I don't really like that part. It was just funny, but silly funny in a way. I choose to focus more on the emotional side of this episode, which I think was the best part of it. Just the idea that Megan was dying, that she was going to die. That's why her parents were here, because they all knew that she was going to die. And Walter was still doing the thing where he wanted to save her, which is funny because how much time has passed since the last time around? I mean, it couldn't have been more than a week, and apparently he was really close to getting done to saving her, which is kind of silly. I mean, he can't. I know he's a genius, but he can't do that in a week. It's impossible. So yeah, I mean, obviously he wasn't going to save her because that would be way too far-fetched. But I like the idea that in kind of avoiding his family, he was also like focusing on the job. So this idea that he had to save Megan was kind of his way to just avoid dealing with the fact that Megan was dying and that his parents were there because she was dying. You know, so I thought it spoke a lot about Walter, especially by the end when he realizes that he just couldn't save her. You know, that was really hard to see. And even then, at that point, Megan had some words for him, telling him not to be afraid, telling him to open up to other people because that's not wrong. It's difficult, but not wrong. And I really liked it. I love that her last words for his brother, her brother, because you know they are really close. They lived in the States for a long time without contact from their parents, so they're really close. And Megan has been such an important part of Walter's life, so it only made sense that he's as important to her as she is to him. And I can imagine, honestly, that if there's one person she wants to make sure is okay after her death, that'll be Walter, because she knows that her parents have been dealing with this. I mean, they won't be happy, obviously, but they can process it, and she knows that Sylvester has grown a lot, so she's not really worried about him, I guess. But Walter is another matter. So if there's anything that worries her about being gone from this world, it's not the fact that she's going to die, it's the fact that she's going to leave Walter on his own. And I like that her last words were to him because of that. Speaking of Sylvester, I was really happy with the way he dealt with this. I mean, they've only been married like a week, but I really like the way they dealt with him because he took it very. I don't say he took it well because obviously it hurt him, but he took it seriously. He knew it was coming and he prepared for it in a way because he knew he couldn't help it. So it's like the polar opposite of Walter, and I'm very glad because I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen to Sylvester after this. I hope he doesn't, kind of relapse after everything is said and done. But we'll see. I mean, so far I love what they're doing with him. I kind of like, even if I didn't like the whole, mold spores invasion thing, I like the solution. Like, I really like the fact that Sylvester is like, I have superpowers now. I mean, I love the fact that he was the one who had such, he cleaned his hands so much that the bacteria in his hands had developed immunity to antibacterial soaps. And so he was the only one who had the bacteria in his hand that could actually kill the fungus. I mean, I thought it's a stretch. It's a very, very, very large stretch, but it was funny, and I loved it. And I loved how, they were like, okay, how are we going to actually get this cure? Or, yeah, this cure. How are we going to make it if all, like, you have a team of geniuses and they're all locked in here? And Paige is like, you're not the only geniuses. And I love that they just dragged Ralph back, and it was awesome. And Kate was like, yeah, don't worry, chicks dig it, It was so cute. I love it when they actually bring Ralph in for a good reason and give him a good shot of proving himself, because he's just a kid. Obviously, they don't have to risk his life or anything, but if there's anything they can do to make him feel included, I think that's a good thing. So I really like that. The whole thing, there had to be a pregnant woman about to give birth, right? There always is. Like, whenever any plot like this takes place in a hospital, there's always a pregnant lady just about to give birth. And it was so funny. It was just so funny because Toby's trying to help, and then he's like, okay, I got the lady, you have to deal with the dad. And then Happy's just starts telling him like everything that's happening inside his wife's body right now, and the dude just faints down on the floor. That was hilarious. And I love that Toby had that moment when he had to choose between the pregnant lady giving birth and Happy, which was interesting because that is the one good way of doing this whole, greater good theme, because geniuses are so good at seeing all of the variables that they kind of know when the greater good is a possibility, and that's the thing. For them, it's an easy choice because they know that by, they know that there's a plan already in motion to stop the spores, to stop the mold. So eventually, Happy would be okay. Whereas the pregnant lady, she had to give birth right away, right? So, but what I liked is the fact that Toby was still torn, because even if you do trust that your team is going to pull through and help everyone with the spores, then will eventually heal Happy. Even then, he cares for her, so it's hard for him to just not help her when she needs to. So that's a good way of using the whole greater good thing, I thought that was really great. And although, of course I don't actually believe this whole thing where, the vapor went in and then all of a sudden everybody was okay again. I mean, was the guy in the kitchen okay? Was he dead? I don't remember if they ever said it. But did he just, miraculously end up okay and everything? Because Happy did. She just stood up and she was fine. No sign of the mold anywhere. No damage to her tissue, nothing. Right? Everything was reversed. Someone just hit the reset button. But what about the guy in the kitchen? They never said. So that was weird, but I found it really funny in the way that this show is always funny. It's a big stretch, but they had to. And yeah, I guess I'm glad they didn't stretch the Megan thing too long, because it would have been a bit unbelievable that, I was kind of halfway expecting for this, super Victoria culture vapor thing to suddenly heal Megan for good. I was almost expecting that, so I'm glad they didn't do that, because that would have been awful. But I'm glad that they took her decease realistically. They didn't stretch it out too long. I mean, she had already spent 2 weeks in bed in a hospital. So, it would really be difficult to go back from intubation to that. So, I'm glad they didn't stretch it out too long, but I'd be lying if I said that it doesn't hurt me, because I like Megan and I would have liked to see her, more around, have her around more, because I think she was good for the characters. She was good for Sly, she was good for Walter. But I guess we'll see. I'm glad she got the send off she deserved, because she was a great girl, and she deserved it. It's kind of sad. I mean, these episodes always make me kind of sad, because they're so emotional, and really they did it very well. So I'm very happy with the show right now. It wasn't one of those episodes where I'm hanging off the edge of my seat or anything, but the emotional part was really well done, and for that alone I like it. I think it was very significant for the show and for the characters. So yeah, good job. That's about it for my review. As usual, you can stop by our website, thegeekypub.com, for more reviews on Scorpion for the previous episodes, or also you can find other reviews for TV shows, for movies, books, games. We have a ton of stuff, so be sure to check it out. Remember to subscribe to our channel. That's the fastest way for you guys to get updates on our reviews, because they usually go up on YouTube before they hit the website. So be sure to subscribe if you like these, and I'll see you guys in my next review. Bye.